What's going on, y'all? This is your girl, Brie Undeniably, checking in for another episode of my speaker series, Deep Conversations with Dope Individuals, where we're discussing development, decision-making, and a dedication to purpose. As always, I'm here with a super dope individual. Before I introduce him, I am going to go into a couple quick shout-outs before I forget them at the end. So first and foremost, shout out to Gotham Podcast Studio. They are always here hooking it up. If you're watching this on YouTube or listening wherever you get your podcasts, they are the ones producing the audio and the video, the space, everything. Their team is amazing. So shout out to Gotham. Second, shout out to MC Kicks. Though I'm not wearing any MC Kicks gear today, they have supported me and sponsored me since day one. If you have not checked out their customizable streetwear kicks, denims, anything you want in the streetwear space, you can go to EMCEEKICKS on all social media. If you want to add a .com, you're going to get to their website. That's where you can place your orders and see everything that they've got going on. And finally, when you're doing your own thing, you got to pump your own stuff up. So if you have not checked out my website, you can go to BrieUndeniably.com. That's where you can find all of the other cool things I'm doing outside of the podcast space. So different workshops I run, different speaking engagements I'm involved in, and coaching, counseling, all of that, as well as my merch. So I have my Dope Individual merch as well as my I Am Possible gear. You'll see here I have my Dope Individual backpack. So that's just one of many things you can get from my site. All right, we are, that's all I have for my shout outs. So I am here with Ryan Cote. Ryan,
Hey.
It's great to have you here.
Thanks, Brie. Happy to be here.
Of course. So I'm so excited. Y'all know I get really excited having guests in studio. I just think that there's that chemistry in studio that we don't always get on screen. So I'm so happy that Ryan is here. I'm going to give him the introduction that he deserves, and we're going to kick into it. So Ryan Cote is the owner of Morning Upgrade, a business dedicated to increasing the awareness of personal development through a blog, podcast, book, and morning routine cards. He is also the co-owner in his family's marketing agency and a real estate investor. Ryan lives in New Jersey with his wife and 3 daughters. Welcome again, Ryan.
Yeah, happy to be here. Excited.
Absolutely. So I'm super excited to have you here. I know that we have a ton of crossover in this personal development space as well. Actually, funny enough, Ryan, you are the one who told me to jump onto this one coaching program, Optimize.
Oh, yeah.
And I have very, very, very recently started it. So by the time this comes out, it will not be so recently. But I have just started it, and I had to tell you about it because I think that it really solidified that there is crossover in our lives in the personal development space. So
Yes.
I'm loving that program so far.
Yeah, it's great. Highly recommend it.
Absolutely. Okay, so as I like to really jump in, I like to, in the counseling community, like to meet our clients where they're at. I like to do the same thing for our listeners. So if you could help listeners meet you where you're at and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so live in New Jersey. Like you said, married with my wife Jill, who's somewhere around here, and three daughters, 9, 11, and 7. And in my family's business, it's a marketing agency, but it's also a roofing company now as well. We've expanded as of January. We now have jobs, and so we've got the marketing going and the roofing going. And you mentioned Morning Upgrade. I started at Morning Upgrade about 2 years ago. I was always blogging about personal development, but then in April of 2020, when everything was happening, I just had more clarity, and I was like, I should try to create a brand out of this, turn it into a business, reach more people, create more impact. And now what's interesting is I'm actually starting to interweave the two businesses, the marketing and Morning Upgrade.
Oh.
And what that looks like is having guests, having clients on my podcast, sending them my book. This is more for the marketing. It doesn't make sense for the roofing company because the marketing side, we work with entrepreneurs and whatnot. So
That makes
like
sense.
me sending them my book is not completely out of left field. You know? So it's fun.
Well, I think that's awesome, and I love that you have been able to fuse the two together. I think that's a really unique way to sort of bring all parts of you to the forefront. So really cool to be able to do that, to bring different pieces of your life into unison. So I really there's so many questions that I have, but the way that I kind of want to just really get started is bring us back to the beginning. And the beginning can be wherever you feel like it is. Some people that is, I have people joke, well, I was born on this day. And it could be when you're 5 years old and, you scraped your knee, or it could have been in April 2020 where you said you kind of brought your business ideas together. So bring us to the beginning for you.
Beginning, like all the childhood trauma. Is that where?
Yeah, hey, hey, wherever we go.
No, I mean, I guess I get asked a lot. Like I've always been into personal development. I'm trying to think back to what started it all, because I remember always being into this stuff, like reading the books
Right.
and Think and Grow Rich and How to Win Friends, Influence People. And I don't remember the exact catalyst for what got me into this. I think it's a combination of like, yeah, maybe things that happened in my childhood to try to make myself better, but also just a genuine interest in trying to improve myself. And so I've always read the books, and then like you mentioned, April of 2020. That's actually no. Actually, let me go a little further back. So 2017, I was going through some things in personal and in business, and it felt like the sky was falling on me. So for example, like in Valentine, we lost like our top 5 major clients, all pretty closely together too. And so if you think about losing your top 5 clients, like it was like, what's going on here? And so I knew we had to revisit things in the business, because obviously things were broken there, but I felt like there could be things broken with me too. Like I wasn't showing up as the best person, best version of myself. At least that's what I thought. And so I started really double downing on personal development. I just coincidentally listened to a podcast with Hal Elrod. Do you know him?
I do.
Miracle
Yeah.
Morning?
Yeah.
So I just happened to, or whether or not it was always there, my antenna wasn't up at the time, but I listened to that. I didn't really know about morning routines at the time, so I was like, I should do that. I stopped eating red meat. I still don't. I'm not sure why. I'm not like I'm into health, but I eat meat just for some reason. I stopped eating red meat. I started doing boxing, just trying to like mix things up, and started feeling different about myself. And heading into 2018, things started turning around. We made changes in the business. Not that things are perfect by any means, but it's like it was night and day from 2017, where I was like very flustered, to 2018, where I felt like I had a little more control over what was happening. Not full control, but more control. And yeah, and now it's just spiraled into Morning Upgrade and me speaking to you here, and who knows where else.
Yeah, lots of places from here, I'm sure, because I know that you're doing incredible things. What I think is so interesting is that for you, and this doesn't always happen, but for you, it seems like the beginning, at least in this story that you're leading us down, was actually from out of something happening in your business, which is, it's not always that way. A lot of people, it will be something, something personally had, a moment or a breakup or something. And I just think that it's really interesting. And I also think that it speaks to you in being tied to your business and having those personal ties, because you saw that things were falling apart in the business, or something was coming down in the business. And that was a mirror for you. It was like a personal reflection that you wanted to, that you felt like something was falling apart with you as well.
I felt the urgency to fix things. But I've always had that urge. I've always had that desire, whether I've always been not super comfortable in my own skin, but like, just always wanted to improve, always wanted to feel better, always improve things.
Yeah.
And 43 years later, you think you'd feel that would completely go away, but at least for me, it doesn't. And so for me, like personal development and just working on yourself and business really overall is always like just a constant journey. You get things right, then you take one step back, get 2 things right, one step back. At least it's been my experience. I don't know.
Absolutely. The waves of life that, we might be trending upward, but there's still that wave or that spiraling upward that some will say.
Spiraling upward. Yeah. That's a good way of
the
saying
spiraling upward. So I can totally relate to that. And I feel like that is for many people, there's really no end to development. I guess that's in the name of it. There's really no cap to how much or how far you can develop.
That's true, because once you get to where you think you want to be, that line's going to probably move a little bit further away. So we always need something to strive for.
That's it. And we can continue to compound our learning and our growth. And, there really is no, I don't believe there's a cap. Maybe someone else might disagree, but who knows? We'll find out after this episode is released and I get the messages.
What was he talking about?
Yeah. Okay. So, 2017, we're here. You kind of make some small adjustments that lead to larger changes in your life. So you go into 2018 sort of feeling a little bit renewed, ready to sort of keep it moving forward. Bring us down the journey from there.
Yeah. So it really, 18 things started getting better, but really what's interesting is, so if we talk about Valentine specifically. that's been a whole journey of learnings as well, because for a while, like for most of my career, for like the first, I can't do the math, but let's say 12 years, it was me just by myself doing marketing for the company.
Oh,
And
wow.
so I was director of marketing, but I was I was like only one person, so I was directing myself technically, but still director of marketing by job title. And and then when we built out the digital division of the business, when we were able to, we started hiring people, and that was like a whole nother set of lessons. So, just trying to manage people and all the workflow that goes into that, and it was just a lot of learnings. I was used to coming to the office and just having to worry about myself. Now I was coming to the office and having to make sure everyone was okay and people were getting along and the work was getting done. And so, yeah, just still a lot of lessons, honestly, from that point.
And I was going to say, Valentine is a family business, correct?
Yeah.
So there has got to be an additional set of different stressors that come with working in a family business.
Yeah.
And different relieves as well, but different stressors for sure is kind of what I'm.
Yeah, there is for
pushing
sure.
into, yeah.
I mean, we've been doing it for 56 years, so there's, it's there's been definitely ups and downs. You hear like the disasters where there's different egos involved, and we've been good with that, like keeping that in check. But yeah, it's weird. Like you go to work and then you come home, you go to a holiday party, and it's all like the same. It's like, hey, it's like you lose track of the days.
It's all intertwined.
Yeah, exactly.
And who at this point is part of the family business? Can I ask that?
Yeah, so it's me, my uncle, my two brothers that are owners in the two businesses, and my cousins working there.
Okay. Oh, wow.
And so
okay,
it's funny because before coming here, I was actually at the networking group as the roofer of the group, even though I know nothing about roofing. And my cousin came because we had to give a talk there, and then I came here to talk to you, and so I have to remember, like, what hat am I wearing? Am I the roofer? Am I the marketing person? Am I the morning upgrade person? So today we're like multiple hats.
Yeah. Hey, well, I want to know about all the hats. I'm here just to talk about your life, which I think is really cool. So I like to go down whatever path, whatever hat leads you, which way.
Yeah.
All right. So we have kind of talked about the beginning. We talked a little bit about the family business. You said that Morning Upgrade really didn't start till 2020.
Yep.
So in between sort of this like renewed sense of self in 2018 to then, that was just you were doing family business, or what else was happening in that time frame for you? What type of growth was going on there?
Yeah, really, it was just the morning routine, really trying to dial that in. I followed Hal Elrod's program.
Okay.
It's like an hour and a half. Eventually, I couldn't stick with it because it was too much friction.
Okay.
It was like, especially with young kids and stuff, and I eventually crafted my own routine. It takes like 20 to 30 minutes, but I think that comes with time. You have to do something long enough until you can form your own impressions on how it should be done for yourself, for your own interests. And so, yeah, those couple of years, it was really the morning routine, the boxing, just trying to do better at Ballantyne, trying to grow the business, trying to grow the team, and just all the lessons there. Obviously, 2020 with COVID, going remote, and then all of that, it create a whole new journey.
Transpired,
for all of us, not just obviously for me.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, but you know what? It's so interesting, and everyone has a pretty like major story to tell, and it could be that they're still in that story, but everyone's life was really shooken up and really shifted from that time. Right. So whether it is that story is still happening, or there was a major singular shift in life, I believe that everyone has a story to tell from that time. There is a lot to dig into there. Before we go to that space, I want to hear about your morning routine. It seems like it took some time for you to develop that. Yeah. So, and it also might pair with the morning upgrade, I'm guessing, because, the morning definitely has something to do with your developmental growth, I would say.
Yes, that's it's my pillar habits, like my non-negotiable. Even this morning, I'm waking up crazy early to get to the networking by 7. I still did it. I backed my alarm up to make room for it. And so it's my non-negotiable. And so it's changed over the years. Like I mentioned, it used to be an hour and a half, then I got to an hour, but it was like too much. I had to get it shorter, less than 30 minutes, like I mentioned. And so what that looks like, as you asked, I answer questions, basically, pen to paper.
Okay.
And so the first question is, what's my number one priority for today?
Okay.
Sometimes there's 2 priorities, but what's my number one priority for today? What am I grateful for? So again, pen to paper. I find that you can you write slower than you think. So for me, it slows me down when I'm having to like write it out, as opposed to like typing, you know. And so, what am I grateful for? What's my biggest win from yesterday? So I have to think about yesterday and like what was my biggest win. Sometimes it's having dinner with my daughters, or sometimes it's something business related. It just depends what it is. And then I write down who I'm going to reach out to today. That could be a friend, a family member, a colleague, a team member. It just depends on what's going on. Reach out to them to say hello, let them know I'm thinking about them, encourage them, compliment them, whatever the case is. There's a spot for journaling, and there I'll write down like my affirmations. I'll write down just whatever comes to mind. It's like it's like a couple minutes of journaling. It's nothing major. And actually, while I'm doing this, I should mention this, though I'm going to sound like a crazy person if I haven't already, but have you ever heard of the Happy Light?
I don't believe I have, but I want to hear about it now.
I hadn't heard it. I heard it from a guest on my podcast. So
Okay.
when he told me about it, I'm like, oh, I've got to get that. It's basically like UV light therapy.
Oh.
And it's like it looks like an iPad.
Okay.
And you turn it on and it shines very bright light in your face. And it's supposed to, especially in the winter, like where we are, where there's less sun, it's supposed to mimic sun and make you feel happier, I guess.
Oh, you know what? I feel like I think I've seen something similar on Shark Tank, which it might have come from
Maybe,
Shark
yeah.
Tank.
I don't
I'm
know.
not sure, but I remember it was exactly what you're saying, sort of that simulation of light for, winter months or darker hours. Might have even been for Alaska. I'm not sure.
Perfect for Alaska.
Yeah, right. I'm not entirely sure, but the concept was exactly that there was some type of that fluorescent or that UV light simulated that the sun, which simulated, it stimulated things in our body that I won't get into the science, but stimulates happiness.
Too.
Yeah,
gives you energy.
Exactly.
And so I have that shining on my face like a crazy person as I'm like writing down my answers. And so I figure like, why not? It's a layer that I could add to the morning routine without adding to the time and the complexity of it. And so that's shining in my face as I'm doing this. And so we got up to the journaling, and then I meditate for 5 or 6 minutes. I use a guided meditation on Insight Timer. It's a free app. And then I exercise for 5 or 6 minutes. It's not the only exercise I do, but it's just the first thing in the morning to get the blood flowing.
Yep, that's
5 minutes of
stimulation.
burpees or something like that.
Nice.
And then I read 2 or 3 pages of a book. Right now I'm reading a book called The Everyday Hero Manifesto. Have you heard of that?
I have heard of it. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I forget if we talked about that when you're on my podcast.
I'm not sure if we did. It was about. I'm gonna have to go back and listen to the podcast to know if we talked about it or not, because I know we spoke about some thing that we were both reading. So
I'm talking about it a lot now because I really like the book. It's it's Robin Sharma, who the monk who sold his Ferrari. That's like his big book, 5 a.m. Club.
Okay. Yep.
And basically, he's like a personal development junkie, but on like another level. And so a lot of time, money into his craft, and he's condensed it all into this 400-page book. And every chapter is like 2 or 3 pages with lessons.
Oh.
And so for me, it's like a master class in this stuff. So it's like the perfect complement to what I'm trying to do in the morning.
Yes.
And so that's like a new addition to my morning routine, but loving it.
I just like hearing about your morning routine. I want to ask a few more questions, but
Sure.
I'm going to just kind of give a couple compliments first. I mean, I think that it's awesome that you are incorporating so many of your life spaces. That's kind of how I like to describe that. So it's like your physical life space, your psychological life space, your connected life space, like familial. You're thinking about who you're going to connect with that day.
Right.
Transcendence, you do a meditation, so you connect to yourself, and you're also connecting outside of yourself. I mean, it just, the questions that you're asking and the tasks that you're doing, even in sort of these microdosed pieces, are pushing you to be 1% better that day. I think that that's kind of like the edge that you're getting there. And I just love that it's sectioned out. Like, you're not reading a half hour or an hour in the morning. You're reading 2 to 3 pages. But it's the compounding effect, because we all can read. We can all read if it's only a paragraph in the morning, if that's only what we have time for based on everything else in our lives. If we read a paragraph in the morning, that's going to be a page by the next day, and then a couple pages by, after that. So we have to understand that the power of those incremental pieces that you're doing, I'm sure, is major after several days, weeks, months, and years.
That's what I'm going for. Like, that's why it's only less than 30 minutes, 25 minutes about, because that compound effect, that book by Darren Hardy, it's the small daily decisions, the small daily habits. And so that's my approach to it, at least. And it's funny, like my kids now, they recognize that the morning routine is important, because for a while I had my office door closed. It's like right by their bedrooms. For a while, they would just bust right in as I'm like meditating. I'm like, don't you understand? I'm meditating. And I got better where I would hear their footsteps coming closer to the door. I'd be like meditating, but it still like ruined my. And now they see the door close and they know I'm doing my thing for 30 minutes, and then I come out and we get ready for the day.
Yeah. Well, that you want to know what to. They're probably, like you said, they're understanding the importance of the morning routine. But I bet, they're also eventually, I know that they're still young, but eventually, and they have to have a morning routine to get ready for school as it is, to go out the door. But they're going to start seeing what you do and doing, small things for themselves as well, and starting to build their own habits and their own routines that make sense for their lives eventually in time.
I hope so. We do gratitude practice at night. I'm reading the Daily Stoic to them, like small. It's like literally takes 2 minutes, but they see the morning routine. They see like my cards and writing down stuff. They've taken the cards before and done their own version of it, like once. Not a habit by any means, but I'm hoping, because they're not going to think to do this stuff. Why would they? Like gratitude practice and stuff. That's like the last thing that will probably come into their minds. So at least it was for me when I was a child. So.
Yeah, but I'm telling you, they will. It's one of those things where it's like you think back to you go your own way, you grow up and you go your own way, but then you think back and like, oh, I remember. Like I'm thinking back, I just remember like the small things that my parents would do for me and how I've kind of transform that into what works best for me at this point in my life. So, there will be some type of transformation because they just see that you're taking time to do what's best for you. And I think that that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's what I'm going for, at least.
Absolutely. Okay, so before we push away from the morning routine, I do want to ask, how did you develop these specific or pull out these pieces for your routine? Like, how did the routine that you have now become your routine specifically? Like those questions and such, or whatever pieces you add to it.
Yeah, good question. So I kind of hinted at it before, but I've been up to this point. So I did this. I started this morning routine. What month are we in? March. Mm-hmm. It was maybe mid last year. Okay. And so I've been doing morning routines for 4 or 5 years up to this point. Mm-hmm. And so I equate it to like a chef where you're creating different dishes and you've got different recipes, and you do it long enough and you kind of improvise and decide or conclude what works best for you for the recipe. And so that, to me, I've been exposing myself to all these different strategies, from gratitude practice to meditation, and on and on and on. And so over time, I guess I've just concluded what works best for me and what I'm looking to achieve and what I actually look forward to and what I get a lot of benefits out of, like what I feel better doing. Mm-hmm. And so when I decided I wanted to create my own morning routine and create a product out of it, honestly, mm-hmm. so it added a whole other layer to it, I honestly was journaling. And so I just journaled down like, all right, so I want it to be like 20, 25 minutes. And what would that look like? And so I was just writing down ideas. And I knew like meditation and exercise, it couldn't be that long because then it would blow past the time limit. Right. And so I was just playing around with different ideas. It probably took me like a week to come up with something that I thought looked good. And then I tested it out for a couple weeks and I liked it. And then I've been doing that for, I think I've missed maybe 2 times in the last 9 months.
Wow, good for you. That's I mean, man, that is some dedication for sure. To only miss 2 times, I think that is I know me, when I start a routine, I will be on and off for weeks, if not months, until I nail it down. So I think that's awesome.
You know what's interesting? So going back to Morning Upgrade, it's kind of created its own forced accountability, because if I'm the person that's like the Morning Upgrade guy and I'm doing the podcast and all this stuff, I don't want to feel like an imposter. So I almost feel like I have to, the bare minimum, keep the morning routine going to feel good about myself, like if I'm not like a fake or whatever. But it's affecting me in other areas too, like that second slice of pizza. I'm like, is this the right move here? Because I'm talking about salads on the blog, and so not that we're perfect, no one's perfect, right. But it's created a forced accountability for me to second guess my bad habits and try to do my good habits more often. And so I didn't really start it for that reason. I really did start it because I wanted to try to create a business that I felt good about and that would help people. But as a byproduct, that's what's happening. It's making me second guess my bad decisions.
You develop as the business develops. Kind
Yes,
of
there it is.
bringing it back
There
to
it is.
the beginning that we spoke about.
Yeah.
You know, you really do have that connectedness to your businesses that you work with, and I think that that is so cool that y'all are developing together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, okay, we are about halfway through right now, so
Okay.
let's start talking about the morning upgrade. Let's start talking about everything that happened, that's transpired since April 2020, and the business that you have developed and created.
Sure. And we could talk about the transformation of Ballantyne too, if you want, like how we got through
Please.
COVID, if you want, like the
Absolutely.
challenges there.
Wherever you'd like to take us, based on this is your story and your journey, and I'm here as a passenger. So
Okay. Hopefully it's an interesting journey.
It will be, I'm sure.
So, all right. Yeah, Morning Upgrade's been like an evolution. I'll start there, and then I'll go to Ballantyne. So, Morning Upgrade, it started out as a blog, and I'm not trying to pitch the website. I want to just tell you the evolution of what I learned from doing it. So, it started as a blog.
Yeah.
Okay. And when I created the website, and here's a lesson. The website that it is now, it wasn't as it is when I started it. I just threw up a free theme. The whole concept of ready, fire, aim. Not getting things perfect, just going for it. And so I created the website knowing that I was going to eventually redesign it. I just didn't want that to stop me from making progress.
Mm-hmm.
So I needed to get the ball rolling, get the momentum going. And so it started out as a blog. And I think it was like maybe 3 months later, I had the idea of creating the podcast. It was like the last thing I wanted to do because I didn't know anything about it. I'm not as fancy as this, but there's still, regardless of the fanciness, it's still consistency, the sound quality, getting the guests,
everything. And I loved being on your podcast. I thought that we'll talk about that as well. But I mean, I just thought that you came in with just the energy and the questions and the conversation, and it was a great interview.
Thank you. Yeah,
for
thank
sure.
you. Likewise here. So, so just learning that whole process, and when I first started the podcast, it was phone to phone, so the quality wasn't that great. Then I went mic to mic, and then I was playing around with different applications. If you listen to some of the episodes, the sound quality is awful, and now it's better. And then let's see, the morning routine cards came before the book. So then I was trying to think how I'm going to monetize it. So like as you create a business, you need to monetize it, and so I have affiliate offers on there that make money, but I wanted to have a product, and it felt like it had to be tied to morning upgrade, morning routine, be my pillar habit. And so I created a journal type product that helps people start the morning routine that I just described. And then, whole bunch of lessons there, like how am I going to get the cards printed? How am I going to get them fulfilled? How am I going to advertise them? All these lessons. And just the way I approached it was just step by step trying to learn things and not go for the gusto right from the get-go. That just works best for me, just kind of chipping away at it.
Mm-hmm.
And then the book. And so the book, felt like I had to have it. It was like an extension of the brand. It would give me more marketing material, reasons to connect with people, get my message in people's hands. And so that was a whole nother journey. Never wrote a book before. I'll be honest, though. So I actually used a ghostwriter for it. I'll admit it because I still like the process that I use, and this might be helpful to your audience. It's still my information.
Yeah.
It took almost a year to do. But I basically created the outline, the rough outline, created the information inside each point. Like chapter 1 is going to be this, and then we're going to talk about point A, B, and C. And I created the whole outline, and then every week I would get on with my ghostwriter, and we would talk about the chapter, and she would just ask me questions, and I would just pour my heart out for an hour. She would record it, and then she would create the chapter in Google Docs, and then I would take like a week to edit it, and then we'd send it to an actual editor, and we did that whole process for the whole book. So it was still a lot of work, and still took almost a year to do. But I felt like if I had to do actual typing, it probably would never have happened. And so I found, again, the less friction, the path to least resistance. And so even though it was a lot of work, there was less friction.
I love that you're speaking on this because I can talk personally, and I know that there are audience members as well who for sure are in this space of like trying to write a book or trying to put together a book. And for me personally, I am trying to write a book right now for the exact same reasons that you said, to kind of, solidify who you are, get your message out, have a product to sell. It's for me, it's like, especially if you have a book and I'm doing speaking engagements, you sell the book, you get that product out, you get more speaking engagements, and it's like a cycle. So for me, putting a book out is for sure definitely what I want to do, to be able to sort of encapsulate all the knowledge that I have at this moment in time. But funny enough, the book that I'm reading in my bag right now, it's called Published, and it is.
Is it about that process?
It is. It's not about the ghostwriting process. It's about writing a book. It's literally about self-publishing, because at this point in time, depending on if you can get a publisher, that's great. But there's also, the more succinct way to self-publish and be able to just put together the book and get it out there. So that is what I'm reading right now. So hearing you talk about a ghostwriter is really interesting, because, I'm in the process of figuring out how am I gonna do this? Which avenue is best for me? So I love to hear, and I think it makes sense. Even speaking to, how you said you had to make your morning routine shorter just based on the life space that you're in, so you found a way to be able to put this book together and write this book essentially, and just have someone else assist you in the process.
Yeah, it's still my information. It's still,
exactly.
It's still a tremendous amount of work editing it and stuff like that, but it just made it a step easier. And then, you have to learn how to. I self-publish through KDP, so how does that process work? It wasn't as bad as I thought. You get the cover design, you get the KDP file created, then you upload it, create your listing. It took a week, but it's not as bad as you would think. And so, but again, it's like you have to learn new things, and it's a good thing to learn new things.
I also love, going back to the beginning of this, how you said you kind of just threw up the website just to not have it be a roadblock, and you knew you were going to iterate, essentially. You were going to put it up there and iterate. And that is, I think, one of the biggest sort of deterrents for entrepreneurs is that they don't have it all figured out day one, and that makes them not do it day one. And what you did is exactly what all entrepreneurs should do. If you have the ideas, you have to start somewhere. And, me here, if I went on your website right now, Ryan, I wouldn't know that you had 10 iterations prior to.
That's a good point.
You know what I mean? And
That's a good point.
that is one of those things where we can be so hard on ourselves, and to the point where it might completely stop us from doing something.
Right.
And so I love that you said you threw it up, and you knew that it wasn't going to be a perfect finished product, but it was going to be something to get you started. And then you're going to develop it from there.
It's a work in progress.
That's it.
Like us.
Always. We are works in progress, right?
Exactly.
Business is work in progress. So I love that.
And so I'm still figuring things out, like the business. I'm trying to figure out, like, what's next? Is it a mastermind? How do I sell more books? How do I sell more cards? How can I make better content? Just trying to think of, like, the concept of Kaizen, like continuous improvement. And so, and obviously interweaving it into Valentine, that's been a new thing. So I'm just always like trying to think of ways to do things a little bit better, but it's been exciting. And it's a differentiator, like in the sales process, when I'm trying to earn the business of someone, having the book, and it's added another layer of just a differentiator, I guess.
Yeah, of course.
And so I wasn't expecting that when I started it, and so always keeping your antenna open for new ways of doing things.
Absolutely. Can we talk about the book a little bit more, like
Sure.
about what's in the book, what it's about? Maybe listeners would want to get a copy as well. So this
Sure.
is please feel free to
I'd be okay
let
with
everyone know. Yeah.
So it's called The Entrepreneur's Secret Weapon: How to Use Personal Development to Upgrade Your Life and Business.
Amazing.
And so it's a short book, because I like to read short books. It's like 112 pages.
Great.
And so it's a quick, easy read, and it's $10 on Amazon for the paperback. And so I priced it low. And so, it's different chapters on, like, morning routines, of course, mindset, business, like how to progress in business, how to inject personal development into your workplace. That's what I try to do.
Yes.
Whether or not teams are listening or not, I try to, like, we do book clubs, and I do a Sunday email to the team. And so ways to, like, pepper personal development into the workplace. I have a chapter on that. And then, of course, there's a chapter on doing the same thing with your kids, at least based on my experience. That's the gratitude practice and, other things. But it's a short, easy book. It's sort of like a handbook, a manual. There's each chapter ends with a section where you can write down your notes, any takeaways you had from the chapter, as opposed to, like, circling things. You can just write down your takeaways. Great. And so, I'm hoping that people read it and they get one or two nuggets from it. That's my hope.
Of course. I mean, I'm just thinking right now how practical it sounds, because it's not only, it's like an entrepreneur's guide, but it is like, how do you as a person fit into the entrepreneurial world by using personal development as your tools to success, essentially?
Yeah, make yourself show up better, and that affects everything. So
Of
life and
course.
business.
And, I always say it that, and I'm going to ask a question. I might be giving myself away, but I always ask about personal and professional development and sort of I know that it's not even crossover. They're entirely interconnected.
Yes.
They're 99% interconnected, I would say. I mean, as close to oneness as they can be, because who you show up as in the workplace is who you are becoming as an individual outside of the workplace.
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to my story about going back to 2017, trying to work on the business, but also trying to work on myself, and then the two, together. And so, yeah, I believe in that. Like, you think about it, if your home life is a mess, it does carry over into your work eventually,
Right.
and it's just they're all very intertwined. Because, like, you think about it, if you're working on yourself, you feel better about yourself, and that's just going to make you behave differently at work.
Yeah.
In most cases.
Absolutely. And I think it's one of those things too. It's like we don't necessarily consciously understand that we're coming in with renewed behaviors to the workplace if we are, doing something on the back end. However, that's the thing. It's not necessarily a conscious process that, things aren't going your way at home and that's going to translate into work. And sometimes we can play the game.
Yep,
we can play the game, and that's a part of being a human being too, acting like things are okay when they're really not in the workplace, because you have to do what you have to do. But there is eventually, there's so much spillover, there's so much interconnectedness there. There's whether it is, positively trending or negatively trending.
Yeah, I have a story on that actually, like trying to keep yourself, like you mentioned, things happening and trying to keep it cool. But I was is when we had an office, because now we're remote. So we had like a nice office with the foosball table and all that you would expect. And so we were sitting in a meeting. It was like maybe 5 of us, and I had my phone on me because you mentioned my wife and I have real estate, and so one of our condos down south was vacant for like 2 months, and that's kind of, you're paying the mortgage, but no money's coming in. So I was stressed about that. And the realtor, they were trying and stuff. And I got a call from the realtor when I was in the meeting.
Yeah.
And we're in New Jersey. It's down south in Charlotte. And so I saw the call come in. I thought it was good news. And so I excused myself from the meeting. And I went in the hallway. And she was like, evidently, I guess when the tenant left, they took their washer and dryer. And we didn't notice that there was a slow drip coming from the washer line. I'm not very handy, so I don't know the logistics of it all, but they didn't notice that, and she's like, the ceiling collapsed into the first floor, like not a full collapse, but like partial collapse.
Oh,
and I was silent. I was like, and she's like, hello? I was like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm just trying to process this. I thought this was going to be a different phone call. I thought you were calling me with good news. And so she's like, well, what do you want me to do? So I was like, insurance and all that, but I had that moment where I just took a deep breath and I just closed my eyes and went back into the meeting, and I was like, I'll just deal with this later. And I ended up putting on a good face, but my mind was kind of out there. I wasn't really thinking about it. I wasn't really thinking about it in the meeting,
I was going to say, I'm sure that there was no focus for you after that in the meeting, or really difficult to focus in the meeting
Partial
after that.
Focus, let's say that.
Partial.
I was there, but not really.
Oh, my
Doing
goodness.
my best.
I can't imagine. Like, my heart just sunk just hearing you say that. Like, the ceiling collapse. Even one ceiling pane collapsing is a tremendous amount of additional work that you didn't expect to have to do, or additional steps that you have to take on top of not getting that income at that time. Oh, man.
Thank God for insurance, but
it
just kind of delayed us for a little while.
For sure. Yeah. Again, we have to put on that face though at our jobs. We have to, kind of act as if things are okay, and eventually, hopefully, especially in family businesses, it might be a little bit easier, or maybe more intertwined. I don't know if like family things are happening, then family business it's all connected. But I hope that eventually there is, we are able to be more ourselves and more transparent about when things happen when we need space in the workplace. Because I know that there's a lot of people who just can't take that type of space for themselves in the workplace. That's what I was saying with family. Maybe it could be a little bit more understanding if you do need to take space or time, but it's not always the case.
We're there now, especially I feel like we're more flexible than ever right now.
That's great.
And I'm not sure if that's because of everything that's happened over the last couple of years, but we know everyone's got lives, and some good things happen, bad things happen. People need space sometimes.
Right.
And I've had my own family drama. That's the biggest thing with family businesses is trying to keep the family drama out of it. Because we've had situations. I'm not going to talk about it here, but it could have easily affected the business. And we put up the walls, and eventually the issue got better, and it was fine. But it could have easily just taken over everything. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh man. Okay. So I don't even know where to go from this conversation because there's so many directions I could go in. We have about 10 minutes left.
10 minutes? Okay.
Yeah, we got about 10 minutes left. So I do want to sort of give you the time to finish any of those pieces of your story that you'd like to finish before I kind of transition into our final sort of rapid fire round. Yeah.
So going through COVID, just so many things there, pushing everyone remote, and in being that we're in the marketing world, clients wanted to scale back because things were tough, and so every day there was new things coming at us. Like this client wants to pause, this client wants to scale back. We offer to do free work for this client because they were in a really tough spot. So really just navigating those waters, doing the best we can. And we ended up making it through without having to lay anyone off. And really, we didn't lose many clients either. We had to. It wasn't great. 2020 wasn't a great year, of course, but it was just every day, just taking it day by day, and being like, all right, what's coming at us, and what's the best move? Mm-hmm. Is it the right move? We'll see. And so just try to make those decisions. And that pushing people remote actually was interesting because everyone's really happy. We have people moving everywhere. Yeah. I like it because I have more flexibility.
Yeah,
come
absolutely.
here, do this, go to work. It's just, it's a different lifestyle now.
Absolutely. It's so funny that can actually, I feel like remote work has actually done great things for people's morale. Just to, like you said,
seriously.
Like you can move wherever you want. You can kind of, for those who do appreciate family time, I know some people really want that space, but for those who didn't get that family time and they get to be home with their family more often, then that is, I know, amazing for a lot of people as well. So
I see my kids a lot more now.
Yeah.
Also doing a lot more errands than ever before. Still working if my family watches this, but it's a lot more errands.
A lot more. Another hat for you to wear.
Yeah.
Well, I commend you for not only dealing with the family business as you did and staying afloat and not having to lay anyone off in everything that happened in 2020 and beyond, but also building your own business as that was all happening simultaneously.
Yeah.
Kind of start doing everything that you're doing parallel to that on the side of in 2020.
The secret of handling all that is being mediocre at everything. That's the real secret. No, it's a team effort. Like it's not just me at Ballantyne. I've got my two brothers, my uncle. So it's not just me. This is like a team effort. It's a little easier when you've got multiple people that own the business because you've got like a team, like a board of directors to kind of figure things out. And so if it was just me, that would have been tough,
For sure. And, I hope that everyone listening who went through something really difficult with business or otherwise, my thoughts are with you. Because I know that was a very, very, very difficult time. It still is. We're still in a tough time. We're in the aftermath of a tough time, which is maybe more tough.
Seriously.
Okay, well, in the last few minutes, let's do a couple things. So I'd like to talk about purpose. Purpose is something that I have really brought into this podcast because I have found that once people tell me their journey, they like to sort of bring me their beam of light at the end of, how they've found meaning or purpose or whatever it might be out of that. What is purpose to you?
Purpose to me is living a life of impact, living a life of fulfillment, like enjoying your life.
Yeah.
I've had more clarity around that recently.
Awesome.
Last couple of years, few years or whatever. Just like, if we're here, what's the point if we're not having fun? Not that we obviously we have to work hard, but I prioritize fun a lot too. Like after this, my wife and I are going to go grab some lunch. We do road trips, see friends a lot. And so really prioritizing or balancing, I guess, fun with hard work. Because what's the purpose? What's the point of being here if we're not enjoying the journey? And that takes, honestly, intentional effort too, I've learned. Because it's easy just to get sucked into work and not pay attention to things and not be present and not be intentional. Mm-hmm. But if, it's taking work, but it's really nice. It's really good when you get it.
I like your perspective on it. It's not necessarily purpose is, but it's what's the purpose without. And I think that is a really great way to view that. So I love what's the purpose without having fun, without, enjoying your life as well. And I think that that's incredibly important. Something that all of my listeners, I hope that you do hear with both of your ears and take in and really internalize, because I think that that's an incredible way to view that.
Yeah, work hard, try to help other people, and then have fun. Those are like the three things. And take care of yourself. Yeah,
of course. That is important. Okay, so we're going to move into the rapid fire round. And then after that, I'm going to leave the floor to leave listeners with any final words that you have, final thoughts, and let everyone know where they can find you as well.
Great.
All right. So rapid fire, in the beginning of the podcast, I asked I said it was going to be about 3 things: development, decision-making, and a dedication to purpose. I believe that we touched on all 3 in some way. So first is on development. And I said I might have given myself away in this one, but currently right now in this very moment, do you feel like you're working more on personal development or professional development?
Well, they are interweaved, like we mentioned.
Yes.
If I had to pick one, though, I probably would say personal development.
Personal.
And I've listened to plenty of marketing books and business books till like my ears bled, but that was in a different season. Now I'm more focused on personal. Of course, I'm still doing self-education for my career, but if I had to pick one, I'd probably say my focus is a little more on personal
development
at the current moment.
Awesome. Okay. Now the next one is decision making. This one I'm going to give you the question and then give you a little bit of a follow-up. So when you make decisions, do you make your decisions more based on choice, meaning you follow numbers or analytics, or guiding voice, meaning you follow gut feeling, spirituality, intuition, or something else of the sort?
100% gut feeling. I'm not very analytical. I wish I was a little bit more analytical, but I'm not at all. It's my one brother is very much so we kind of balance each other out. But yeah, for me, it's 100% or 95% gut feeling.
Okay. And the final one, this one I have tweaked a little bit a couple times because I'm just interested in learning about purpose. And so based on some answers I've got, I'm tweaking this one for this interview and for my following interviews.
What's coming? I'm not sure.
Purpose. Is purpose something, I basically want to know, is purpose nature or nurture? Is purpose, are we born with a purpose, or do we sort of grow into a purpose?
I'll answer just from my perspective. Yeah. This is my perspective, but I think you grow into it because this journey, that I've been on, I didn't see Morning Upgrade coming. I didn't see, writing a book and interweaving it into Ballantine. I've just come into it from going on the journey and just trying and testing and just be open to new things. And so to me, I've grown into it. And who knows what in 5 years I'll be, in 10 years. Definitely wasn't born with this. And so this purpose. And so I've just kind of grown into it by intentionality and taking action and just trying new things. That at least based on my journey.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. That's it for rapid fire.
All right.
Quick and painless. Okay. I am going to leave you the floor for final thoughts, whatever you'd like to leave listeners. And then also please let us know where we can find you. And if you want to tell us the name of your book one more time so people can look it up.
Yeah. I mean, this is it's not going to be any new advice, but I think it's really important to just reinforce is the investment you make in yourself is the best investment you can make. And so that could be a morning routine. It doesn't need to be, but it can be. That's the content you consume and just the work that you do on yourself. And what I've had to learn during this journey, I'm still learning it because it doesn't come natural to me, is pushing myself out of my comfort zone. Actually coming here, like when we talked about being on the show, you said you could do it virtual or you can come here. And first thing I was like, I'll do it just over the phone. It'd be easier and whatever. And I was like, no, I should go into the studio because it's a little bit out of my comfort zone and just do it. I talk about this stuff. I have to do it, And so just looking for opportunities to push yourself out of your comfort zone because that does force growth. And it's uncomfortable, but it's important. And so that's what I try to look for. I look for opportunities to push myself out of my comfort zone, not into danger zone, but out of your comfort zone.
It's very well said. And there's definitely room between outside of the comfort zone and the danger zone. I think that's actually the problem, is that we feel like if we step outside the comfort zone, we're in the danger zone. And that's not the case. And if we can just step outside to see that that's not the case, that it's just, the temperature is just a little bit colder, but not, freezing cold. then it might make it a little bit easier to step outside the comfort zone.
Yeah, everything's hard until it's not.
Yeah.
It just takes, you need to put it in the reps. It's like public speaking.
That's it.
First time I did public speak, and I was sweating, shaking like a leaf, and now it's not that bad. So
Right.
it just takes time.
Well, I think that's super sound advice. And also, I am so happy that you came in studio. I know I said it in the beginning, but I'm happy to say it again. I'm happy that you stepped a little bit outside of your comfort zone and came here, because I think that the facilitation of conversation in person is unmatched. So thank you for being here.
Yeah, this was great. Thanks, Bri. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And let everyone know where they can find you.
Oh, yeah, that's right. So Morning Upgrade is morningupgrade.com, nice and easy. Valentine is valentine.com, nice and easy.
Mm-hmm.
And then the book is The Entrepreneur's Secret Weapon. It's on Amazon.
Awesome. All right. Ryan Cote, everyone. Ryan, thank you again.
Thank you.
And until next time, let this be the moment.